Monday morning, October 1st already. Holy crap, where's the time going? Q4, 3 months left in the year, but 4Ps to start off your day. A few years ago, when I was filling a vacancy on my team for a very senior role, I recall meeting a number of candidates. Now, one cleared all of the initial hurdles, had all the right experience, and was very much aligned with my perspective and views on the industry and just things in general. But before we got to making him an offer, a couple of his former colleagues reached out and voiced some troubling concerns about inappropriate behavior. And when I asked the candidate about it directly, he denied it, but chemistry on my team was so important, and the risks were just too great. Didn't mean I could prove what he was accused of, and I had met other highly qualified individuals, so I ultimately decided that the risk of hiring someone with a potentially checkered past just wasn't worth it for my company. Now, I'm not sure what Bardo Kavanaugh is up to these days, but I'm sure that guy landed on his feet somewhere and is doing just fine. And my son is very into cars. He watches car restoration shows on television. We've talked about how I'm teaching him to drive. He also loves going to car shows. New cars, classic cars, race cars, you name it. Only problem, most of the crowds and the people at these shows are the very worst of what America has to offer. Now, yes, seeing some of the old American muscle cars is cool, as are the sports cars and the race cars, but there are also some interesting vendors selling not only car accessories and toys and model cars, but there are some vendors who also sell offensive, racist trinkets and t-shirts and like patches for your motorcycle jackets. It's just so unfortunate, but now that my kids can read and ask questions, I think our car show days may be sputtering out. Now, the Senate has been front and center recently thanks to well-publicized hearings on television and just getting front page coverage everywhere. So these races are critical. We've already talked about Tennessee, Nevada, North Dakota, and Texas. But one that's really interesting is the open seat in Arizona with the exit of Jeff Flake, who isn't running for re-election. Now, in these Senate hearings recently, we've seen a lot of diversity on the left. Mazie Hirono from Hawaii, Amy Klobuchar, Kamala Harris, and Cory Booker. Democrats are well representative of America. Now, in Arizona, the two people running are both women, which is a good thing. Now, Flake, who's retiring, has seized headlines for important reasons, but this race is now leaning blue, with Democratic Representative Kristen Sinema leading Representative Martha McSally, the Republican, in most of the polls. Now, it's going to be a toss-up, make no mistake. It's tightening up, and Sinema is a moderate three-term congresswoman despite starting out her career as a Green Party candidate. She's only 42. She actually grew up homeless, has a crazy story, is openly bisexual, but hasn't asserted herself necessarily on the House floor in the legislative area. But she's well-liked, has the funding to flip the seat, and honestly, this is the Democrats' best chance in years. So follow along with me on this one, right? If you're watching this, you're probably a high achiever or somebody who's really interested in just interesting people. It's really interesting for people to talk about setting goals, but the reality is that most of us fail to achieve at least some, if not most of the goals we set for ourselves. It's just the way things are. It's not just big goals that we struggle to fill sometimes. It's just getting through our daily routine. I mean, I've been meaning to call our oil company for 2 weeks now to come and inspect and clean our heating unit for the winter, and it's free. But getting your shit together means having realistic standards and establishing a better relationship with your own worst enemies. Not your trainer, I'm talking about time. Once you have a realistic goal and break it into manageable tasks and make a small amount of progress every day towards making that happen, that's when you start getting your shit together. It's not just about being difficult, you just need to be consistent. A big part of getting your shit together is maintaining your valued relationships, keeping our social and family connections alive and prioritized in our lives. And We need to do things actively to maintain or improve those relationships. It's critical. Professionally, there are also some universally applicable tips for getting your shit together. Be confident. Even if on the inside you're anything but and you're shitting bricks going into a job interview, it's how you're going to win the trust and respect of others, by being confident. If you have a job, ask your boss the right questions. Namely, what is it that you need to do to reach your professional goals? What are they expecting of you? And then, as mentioned last week or a couple weeks ago, breaking those goals up into achievable smaller tasks, like your to-do list can be divided into 20-minute chunks. So it's more manageable and you won't feel overwhelmed. And if none of this seems possible, only then is it time for therapy and blaming your parents. All right, go get it this week. Have a great month. It's Halloween time. Put out those pumpkins. If you're coming into New York City for advertising week, give me a shout. Let's hang out.